Good day to you all, and welcome to this proposal workshop to assist students with the first and often challenging part of postgraduate work. My name is Erna Oliver, and I am a lecturer in the Department of Christian Spirituality, Church History and Missiology at the University of South Africa. I am a church historian. Today we are going to discuss three important aspects of proposal writing. They are the what, why, and how to go about with this task. And after answering these questions, I will also speak to the construction of the proposal. I'm sure that a number of you, when you discover that the first task you need to complete is the creation of a proposal, immediately ask, what is that? What does a university and an academic mean when they speak of a proposal? Well, a proposal for a master's or doctoral degree can be compared to the floor plan of a house. Just as builders need a floor plan to construct all parts of the house correctly, from the foundation to the windows and the doors and the water pipes to the light switches and the roof and the driveway for a house to be inhabitable. So, you need a detailed plan upon which you will be able to construct and build every aspect of your research. When I ask a builder what he is doing, he would like to show me the end result, the beautiful house with all its nice gadgets. When I ask a student about their dissertation or thesis, they also try to paint a picture of the finished product. And this is where I need to say, stop, hold your horses, wait. We need to start at the beginning, at the planning stage, and work from there, although your mind is almost at the finishing line already. You see the house in your mind, all done and ready to move in. I see a piece of paper with about 300 words written on it, and between the student and the supervisor, we need to get the house constructed. So, we now know what a proposal is. It is a plan, and you need to construct a plan for your research. So, why do you need a floor plan if you know what you want to do? Well, just as a builder cannot start with the roof of the house, you cannot start with your research until the foundation is properly laid. And that is what the proposal is all about. The hard work of getting the rough ideas into a formal floor plan that is officially acceptable to form the foundation upon which you will be able to successfully build your research. If you look at this maze, you will see that I populated the picture with some words. These words will provide you with the clues to find the correct material to gather and build into your foundation for your research. I deliberately used a maze because not all students will use the same paths and directions, but you will all need to pass by and interact with each one of these terms I wrote here to create a comprehensive and acceptable plan. If a builder takes shortcuts and does not put trusses in the roof, that roof will collapse. If you do not do a proper literature review, you will find that your research tries to reinvent the wheel, and you wasted your time, money, and energy. So, make sure that you come back to this picture and also use the guidelines in your tutorial letter 101 to ensure that you thoroughly engage with all the important aspects of the plan. The next question we need to answer is, how should you create the proposal? As with all things in life, You need to use the appropriate tools. You cannot mow the lawn with your car. You need a lawnmower. So, the rest of this presentation will be on some of the tools you will need and use to construct your proposal. We will discuss critical thinking skills, digital competencies, life skills, media literacy, language competencies, and lastly, the academic competencies that you will need. I will not go into detail regarding some of these. I will just mention and list some of the aspects, but I want to urge you to make time to investigate and study each one of these aspects in more detail. Sometimes students say, I do not have time for this other stuff. I need to get to work to get my research done. I really want to warn you that this attitude is going to hamper your progress. So please, listen to me and make time to read on all of these aspects. So, come, let us start. The first aspect that is absolutely essential and very important for postgrad studies is the ability to think critically. In the following slides, I just listed the aspects that are grouped under the three major themes of critical thinking. Please make time to come back to these slides and engage with these lists. Identify your personal strong points, weak points, and also the points that you need to develop in order to grow your critical thinking skills. You need to practice these skills and actively make them part of your normal thinking patterns to avoid the following common thinking and research mistakes. In the first place, jumping to conclusions. That is when you see patterns that do not exist, or take what other people said for granted. We are all aware of fake news, but there are also lots of dangerous statements made in academia. Second, relating to jumping to conclusions is when we make assumptions which are called lazy work because we did not take the time to thoroughly think through the information. Third, people who lack the ability of critical thinking often see only one side of the issue. And lastly, and most importantly, when we teach ourselves to become critical thinkers, we must learn to question our own ideas, perceptions, and opinions and actions. Use this list of standards on each part of your work to ensure that what you are writing actually reflects the words in the list. These steps you can actually use as a basic research method for all your research actions. So, keep them where you can constantly see them and tick them off as you go. In the electronic world we are living in, it should be clear that digital competency is very important. I will not say much about this, but again, it is your responsibility to ensure that you are up to date, competent, and able to work digitally and within the set boundaries. Talking about boundaries, I am sure all of you know that we do not use social media texting methods when we are writing emails or research. And we do not use internet sources without proper referencing them. We also know that we must make backup files of all our work and research. And each researcher must make sure that they know and follow the rules on ethical behavior. And this brings us to a very important tool which postgrads and academics often neglect: the use and development of life skills. These skills are very important in normal day-to-day life, especially in the workspace, and can also be well developed during your studies. All of these are crucial for success, while each person and profession will emphasize different skills. Personally, for your studies and specifically for the proposal module, I would like my students to focus on numbers 2, 6, and 10. Critical thinking, emotional intelligence, and cognitive flexibility. I already spoke about critical thinking. Emotional intelligence is the ability to identify, understand, manage, control, and positively use your emotions. Let me give you an example. When I am very upset or sad, which is not very often, because I have a positivistic personality, I cannot concentrate on my work and I make silly mistakes. And on the other hand, I do not have enough time to do what I need to do. So, a few years ago, I discovered that cleaning and sorting my cupboards is about all I can actually do when I need to work through severe emotions. That way, I am doing something. My hands are busy and my mind can focus on wrestling with the emotions. After a few drawers are drastically revamped, I feel better and able to at least try to focus on other tasks again. And this example also expanded recently when I got very frustrated with the constant load shedding. When the laptop dies, I grab a lamp and start rearranging drawers and cupboards. This is cognitive flexibility. To not focus on the negative or what cannot be done, but to find something else that is doable and also need to be done. The fourth tool is media literacy. Let me start by defining multimedia. Meyer defines it as the presentation of material using both words and pictures. He expands this by explaining that words include all material presented in verbal form. That means spoken or text. And pictures include all material presented in visual form, including videos, graphs, and illustrations, as well as free reconstructions and creations. Media literacy is the ability to correctly interpret and use these words and pictures in such a way that you can, from these sources, create new and important content. Language competency could be tricky. Most of us do not work in our first language, and this complicates our work. Basically, here are a few rules that you should use. Use headings to group and sort your key issues. Write in full, short sentences. Do not use adjectives or descriptive words in academic writing. Build each paragraph around a theme sentence. Only one theme in each paragraph. And all the support sentences in that paragraph must link to the theme. Avoid lengthy quotations. Paraphrase in your own words so you can also prove to the reader or examiner or reviewer that you can formulate your own thoughts and interpretation of other people's work. Reference everything that you use from other people's work. And do the referencing according to the Harvard referencing style with page numbers included. So now we have answered the initial questions. We know that the proposal is a floor plan for my dissertation or thesis. We know that we need this to be able to work in a correct sequence with the correct material and according to the plan to ensure that I make good and constant progress. And we know that we will have to use tools. Some of these tools we already have and also know how to use. But there are a number of other important tools that we need to seek and acquire and learn to use. Now we will get to the last tool that we will need to construct a proposal. When creating a proposal, you will need a framework. We use coat hangers of different shapes and designs to hang different types of garments on. We do not hang pants on a shirt hanger, although they are all called hangers and all go into the same cupboard. We also use different frameworks for proposals. These frameworks are like coat hangers. Their purpose is similar, but their looks and specifications differ. So here is the framework or coat hanger that we use to create a proposal, and we call it academic reasoning. This is the last tool in our toolbox. We will start from the top and I will give a short explanation on what you need to do under each of these. Academic reasoning is a specific way of structuring your argument in a logical way so that the readers can easily understand your work. Start by answering the basic questions about your study. What is the topic or theme? What is the time frame you are working with? For example, the early church, the Middle Ages, or postmodernism. Where is your study located? Maybe South Africa, Europe, or Central America. Who are the key persons in your study? The Protestant reformers, or a pope, or a missionary? These are the basic questions listed on the left-hand side of the slide, and these questions you need to answer in the introduction to your study. That is the first few paragraphs of the proposal. To the right of the slide, you will see the two important questions your research will need to answer. Why and how? Why is this topic important for research? How will your research influence people's perceptions or understanding or knowledge of the problem or bring solutions to the problem? Why did these events happen like they did? Why should we take note of your study? And the list can go on and on. Next is the use of sources or media. First and importantly, make sure that you identify the seminal works in your field of study. Seminal works are articles and books in which people initially presented an idea of great importance or influence within a particular discipline or subject. If you study, for instance, the Protestant Reformation, the works written by the reformers such as Luther and Calvin would be seminal works. When you gather sources, categorize them into primary, secondary, and tertiary sources. And remember, in historical research, we work mostly with primary sources if available. You can also set up alerts for sources in the UNISA library on the UNISA webpage or with the help of our subject librarians. Or you can do that on Google Scholar to ensure that you get the information you need. Go to Google Scholar, type the keywords of your research, set up the time range you are looking for on the left, and then on the left hand bottom of the menu, click the Create Alert button. The information you get from resources need to be contextualized. They were not written from your perspective. Some of them could be very old and from very different cultures, languages, and places. The authors could have different worldviews and ethics and values, and therefore you as the researcher need to be aware of these and explain them to the readers, while you also group the sources together, compare them with each other, and evaluate their contributions to the topic. This is normally done in your literature review. Very important is your line of argumentation. After deciding on a topic and doing some extensive reading that you will use in the literature review, you formulate a preliminary title which must speak to the keywords in your topic, and then move to the next step, which is to formulate your research question. Formulate one clear, short, well-structured question. Try to start this question with the words why or how, if possible. For example, if my topic is the influence of Calvin on the Reformed tradition, my research question would be, how did Calvin influence the development of Protestantism? This is my main research question. On the same level of the research question is the aim of the study. What is your goal? What do you want to accomplish? In this example, the aim will be to establish the part Calvin played in the formation of the Reformed Church as institution. Now, formulate 3 to 5 sub-questions that will unpack the main question. Each one of these questions must help me to find the answer to the main research question. If my first sub-question is about Calvin's childhood days, will that speak to any of the key issues in the main question? No, it will not. So, this cannot be a sub-question. It can only form part of the background information to the study. One sub-question can focus on Calvin's writings, because in his written works we discover his way of thinking and the arguments that people later used to create the Protestant dogmas. For each sub-question, you need to formulate a related objective. Regarding the writings of Calvin, the objective can be to explore key concepts from the written works that later developed into the Protestant dogmas. Now you will identify the headings for your chapters, and a good way to do this is to also use the objectives as chapter headings. Later, when the research is all done, you will write a conclusion in which you will answer first each of the sub-questions and lastly the main question to complete the aim of your study. Each discipline uses its own concepts and terms. We have just referred to a substantive church historical concept when we spoke about Calvinism. This term is linked to a specific period, a specific place, and a specific person, and also a specific trend. that is easily identified and contrasted to other periods, other places, other persons, and other trends. If we speak about the church, however, this concept is much wider, and it can be applied to a huge range of periods, places, peoples, nations, and even interpretations. Normally, academic research such as a dissertation or a thesis will focus on more specific or substantive concepts. And you will work with discipline-specific terms or technical terms. Just like a doctor speaks of illnesses in medical terms, we also tend to use terms that need some explanation. Sometimes a term can even have more than one possible meaning, and sometimes words change their meanings over time. So you need to explain these concepts to your readers, so they will know how you will use these terms in your research. Let me quickly explain with the term revolution. We know this term to refer to an unsettling change, to something totally new or different from what was. But it can also refer to the revolving of the celestial bodies that orbit the sun, to their original starting places. And if you use this meaning of the term in your research, you will need to explain this to your readers in the list of key concepts that must be included in the proposal. Strange terms that could be borrowed from other languages or even from other religions should also be explained here. And lastly, you need to explain the meta-concepts of your research. Let us look at this from an historical point of view. Will you investigate why things changed? For example, what caused the Protestant Reformation? Or the effects of an event? What was the effect of the Reformation on the Roman Catholic Church? Or on the political dispensation of Europe? Or on the economical front? Or do you want to measure the impact of certain events? Like the influence that the missionaries had on the marriage customs of indigenous people in Africa? Or would you compare the centrality of the messianic figure in several religions? So, we learned today that the proposal is the floor plan for my dissertation or thesis. That I need this plan to be able to work in the correct sequence and with the correct material, and according to the plan to ensure that I make good and constant progress. And we also learned that we need specific tools to construct this plan. But I think we also need to say to each other, this is only the tip of the iceberg. I know there are much more that you need to know and want to ask, but this is enough for today. And just before I go, the list above contains the headings that your proposal must include. I really hope you learned something that will help you on your way forward. Until next time, stay focused, work hard, and above all, enjoy the ups and downs of the postgraduate roller coaster ride. Good day.